Welcome to Weekly Cheats, where after a week of eating clean, it's time to cheat. Today, we're going to be making bacon sushi. I had some friends show this to me a couple of years ago, and it's been a staple. I don't know exactly where it originated from, another account on YouTube, but I perfected it, and I'm going to teach you the Weekly Cheats version on how to make this, so you can make it too. First we need to do is go ahead and sanitize the countertop though. Alright, the first thing that you want to do is get some skewers, just some shish kebab skewers, and some toothpicks in some water to soak. More on that later, but let them soak before you get started on everything else. For this recipe, you can do really whatever type of bacon you want. This one I've got is the applewood bacon. Make sure you go with the thick cut though. You definitely want raw bacon. Do not buy the pre-cooked bacon at all, please. With this, what we're gonna do, just gonna start with a couple of strips. I'm gonna go one at a time. I'm gonna lay these over each other essentially. As you overlap half of the strip of bacon on the other one, and then just kind of press it down. What we're going for is the width of about the length of one of these skewers. What we're gonna do is, once we've got this to where we want it, we need one more strip of bacon here. What we're going to do is we're actually going to thread these through in a couple different places at the ends and then one in the middle like that. So when we roll it, the bacon stays intact and it helps give some structure to this so that when it's on the grill or if you put it in the oven, you can cook it in the oven as well. It makes it so that it has more form when you try to move it around and it doesn't fall apart on us. Next thing we're going to do now that we've got this in place is we're just going to take 2 strips of bacon and we're just going to cut them in half. We're just gonna lay them out on the edge here. Next thing we need to do is get the ground beef ready. This is 80-20. You can do whatever ratio you want, but this is a cheat day, so I'm going high fat on this. So we have lots and lots of flavor. This is 2 pounds of ground beef. For this, as far as the beef goes, you can use whatever seasonings you want. I like dry seasonings, so I just like to put some salt in there, pepper, a little bit of the Montreal steak, and then I love Lowry seasoning salt. I've got those, and then 1 egg. Help it kind of bind together. This is where you get your hands dirty. Just mash it up with your hands. So if you have kids, let them do this job. Next, we need to cover this whole thing with our ground beef. We might have a little extra ground beef, but it's better to have more than we need than not enough. Okay, we've got this all flattened out. You want to try and get the ground beef about as flat as you can on there. You don't want it super thick, otherwise you end up with one way too big to cook all the way through in a reasonable amount of time. So flatten it down as best you can. I have Gouda cheese. You can use any cheese that you want. This is super good with cheddar. It's like an inside-out bacon cheeseburger. So good. It's also really, really good with blue cheese. I personally hate blue cheese, but this is the one thing that I really like it on. Make sure you leave a little bit of space on the ends here, because what we're going to do, obviously when cheese gets hot, it melts. So to make sure that we don't lose our cheese in the cooking process, we're going to cap it with just a little bit of beef on the edges here. And that's what these are for as well. All right, so the next thing we need to do is start to roll this. So grab, keep the cheese intact. We're just gonna give this a little bit of a roll, and then we're gonna tuck our bacon in around the edges like so. Just kind of one last line of defense to keep our cheese in. And then we're just gonna roll this as tightly as we can. As you can see, the skewer is right there. So you take these little ones and just stick them in throughout. So this will try to peel back as it bakes. And if you're not doing this on a grill, if you're doing this in an oven, this isn't as critical of a step to do, because you don't need to turn it very much. All right, first thing with the grill, try to get it around 400 to 500 degrees. If you have multiple burners like this, have the middle ones off. Otherwise, you will cremate it because it's gonna drip all that grease and you'll just have lots of fire. So we've got it at 500 right now. I have just the end ones on, and I happen to have an infrared burner on the back. So I've got that heating all the way against the back. So we're gonna set it right here. And then we're gonna baste this with barbecue sauce. The barbecue sauce that I like to use is called G. Hughes, and it's actually sugar-free. This particular one is their sweet and spicy. It's very nicey. Here we're about a little ways in. We're losing some cheese, unfortunately, but it's okay. Just give this one last baste. Okay, as you can see, it looks great. One thing you want to do is I would recommend like a meat thermometer just to make sure that it's cooked to at least 150 or 160 degrees. You only need to be 140 degrees for ground beef, but because there's raw bacon and stuff, I like to get the temperature a little bit higher. So, perfect. You can kind of watch it. Also, if you do this in the oven, you can bake it in the oven at 400 degrees. Just make sure that you set it on like a cookie sheet cooling rack or something. Don't let it set on your pan directly, because then it'll be in the bacon grease and just not a good time. Next thing we need to do is just remove all of these skewers and all of our little toothpicks that helped hold this together. Look at that cheese just ooze out. Yep. Here's our bacon sushi. If you like this recipe, make sure that you subscribe and turn on the notification icon. We post new recipes every Thursday afternoon at noon Eastern. Once a month, I'll try to feature doing a keto recipe like this, so it's just protein and fat, none of the sugar like I love so much. But hey, if you have a suggestion or a particular request that you'd like to see for the next keto recipe that I do, go ahead and leave me a comment. And don't forget to give a like and a thumbs up. Thanks.